Evening Fix It fans. Now I'm back with a part 2 video on the amplifiers and receivers that I'm looking to buy so I can bring them to the channel. So everything on this list is the stuff I am hunting for on the computer and trying to find in a non-working condition, and if the price is right, I will buy it and then hopefully bring it back to life on the channel. Well, that is the plan anyway. So let me get my book down and let's crack on with projects that I want for the channel, part 2. And there will be more parts to this because I've still got a load of stuff wrote down here in my book. And I keep remembering stuff. I keep thinking, oh yeah, I remember having one of them. I really liked it. And then that gets wrote down on the list as well. So this list just keeps getting longer and longer. So where was I? Right, the last one I did in the other video was a vintage Marantz. So next up on my list, I have got a Pioneer SX590. Now this one's from 1978. It's made in Japan and it is 20 watts per channel, and it really is a decent receiver, this one. And with them two VU meters on the front, when you are playing music through this one and they are dancing about, this one is a really good looking Pioneer. And I have repaired and serviced a few of these over the years, so I will be in my comfort zone with one of these. I have also had the 690. I've repaired one of them before, and that looks exactly the same. It's just a bit more powerful. So I wouldn't mind a 690 if one come up at the right money. But I do think really I'm going to go after the 590 because it would still be quite an expensive receiver to buy. Even non-working, one of these Pioneers will make a little bit of money. This is not a budget receiver. This is a really good Pioneer. So I'll probably go after the 590, but if a 690 come up at a decent price, then obviously I would buy the 690. And from memory, they're quite bright, this range of Pioneers, so you do not want to match these up with a really bright set of speakers because then you just get too much treble. So these receivers really want a like bassy speaker put on them, something with a nice big driver. And the same goes for this next one, really. This next one can sound a bit bright with the wrong speakers on it. And it is a vintage amplifier, this one. It's a Sansui AU 2900. Now, this one is made in Japan. It's from 1976 and it's 15 watts per channel. And I really rate this little Sansui amplifier. I think it is a really good one, but it does need the right set of speakers on it. If you get the wrong speakers on this Sansui, it can sound not very good. But if you get the right speakers on this little Sansui, then it really can have a decent sound to it, this one, especially for the money. Because out of this AU range, this one doesn't make the money like the bigger ones. And all right, it's not as powerful as them bigger ones, and it's not gonna sound as good as them bigger ones, but it's not far behind them, and this one is like a quarter of the price. So it is a bit of a bargain, this one. It's just one that you need to be prepared to really find a set of speakers that works on it. And I have had a couple of these Sansuis before that didn't power up or do anything. And then when I've investigated to find out the problem with it, on both of them, the transformer had gone. So I'm not sure if the transformer is a bit of a weak link in this one, but I have replaced a transformer in two of these, so it might be, innit? And I will take that into consideration when I'm looking for one of these that isn't working. If I find one and it doesn't power up or doesn't do anything, I'm not going to pay a lot for one like that, because in the back of my head I'm going to think it probably needs a new transformer. Right, so next up is something a bit more modern, and this one I do think is a great one, especially for the money you can get your hands on one of these for. It really is a bit of a bargain, one of these, because it sounds so good for the money, and it is an Acoustics Research A07. Now, this one's from 1991 and it's 60 watts per channel. And it's got something really good going for it, this one. And that is, it is a dual mono amplifier. So the sound you can get out of one of these, for how much money they cost, this one really is good bang for your buck. It is decent sounding, one of these. It's got a ton of power, it's got a ton of bass, and it really should make more money than what it does, but it just doesn't. People don't go after this one. I don't think they know how good it is. They don't know it's dual mono. People have never heard of this one. So it is a bit of a sleeper, as they say, one of these. It does make a little bit of money. It's not dirt cheap, but you could spend a hell of a lot more money on an amplifier and get something that doesn't sound as good as one of these. Now, they make quite a few models in this range. They all finish in a number. I have had the 4, the 5 and the 7, but this 7, it is the best one, and it doesn't really make much more money than the other ones, so this is the one to go after, the 7. Now, I have never attempted to repair one of these, so again, I might be biting off a bit more than I can chew getting one of these that isn't working, because it could be one of them that's really complicated and really hard to fix, and you end up just wanting to pull all your hair out and you'd wished you'd never bought it. But I do really want one of these, so I am up for the challenge. I am going to try and buy one and bring it back to life. I might regret that, but I am up for the challenge. So next up is a vintage amplifier, a bit of a budget amplifier, but I really want one of these, and it is the JVC AS5. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking, oh, what's he want one of them for? Well, I really want one of these because when I was a kid, I had one for years and I really loved it, so I want another one. So this one, it's from 1979 and it's 30 watts per channel, and it is quite a nice looking amplifier. It's quite big, and as far as I can remember from years ago, it did have quite a decent sound to it. Now, it's not going to be the greatest sound in the world, I do know that, but I just really want one for the nostalgia. So I will be looking to get one of these really cheap. I am not going to pay much money for one of these JVCs, especially in a non-working condition. One of these can't make much money. And I will find out soon what sort of money one of these non-working does actually make, because I've got one in my watch list. It doesn't power up or do anything, but it does look in really good condition. It finishes in about 2 days, and as long as it doesn't start going up too much, I am going to have a bid on it. So if the price is right, one of these JVCs could be the first one that I get my hands on off of this list. So next on the list, we are going from a cheap budget JVC to, if you want one of these, you better get your money out. and that is an Akai AA1050. Now, this is a big monster receiver from Akai, a lovely receiver this is. It's from 1976 and it's 50 watts per channel. And I had one of these years ago. It was like the first monster receiver that I ever got my hands on. And I really loved my old Akai. So I want another one of these for the nostalgia. And I also want another one of these because I really rate it. It's an excellent receiver, this old Akai. And I do think it's a bit on the rare side, this AA1050, because I have been looking for one for a little while. Now, I've seen loads of the other ones come up, the Akais that are like this with the different model numbers. I have seen loads of them, but I've only seen a couple of this AA1050 come up, and one of them was on there in the buy it now for a ridiculously high amount of money, and it did sell. I was quite surprised. And there was another one in the auction, and that made a fair bit of money as well. But they was both working. I've not seen one yet that needs repair. So hopefully when one comes up that needs repair, I might be able to get my hands on it without spending a ridiculous amount of money. Now I do know I'm not going to get one of these cheap. Even in a non-working condition, one of these is going to make a little bit of money, but I'm prepared for that. So I do know that when I find one of these in a non-working condition, I'm going to have to go all out to try and get it. Now, I don't normally do that. I don't really chase stuff with high bids. I do low bids on things, and if I don't win them, I just think, oh, there will always be another one come up. But with one of these, I really want one, so I am prepared to spend a bit of money on one of these because I really want one. When I was a kid, this thing was massive. It was bigger than I was. I used to struggle carrying it. It was so big and heavy. Yeah, I really loved my old Akai, so I really want another one. So when one comes up non-working, I am going to go all in. So the next one up, it's another one I had when I was a kid. And did I love it as much as my Akai? Yeah, I did really, because it was a fantastic old receiver. But unlike the Akai, which you never see for sale, I will not need to go all in to get one of these because there is a load of them out there. So I shall bide my time and get one when the price is right. And it is a Rotel RX 600A. Now, this one is from 1973 and it's 30 watts per channel. And one of these was one of the first ones I had that had the pre-out main-in coupler. So you could use it as a preamp or a power amp. And I do think this is another one that's a little bit of a sleeper. It is a bit underrated, one of these Rotels, because it doesn't make the big money when it really is good. I see a lot of receivers that people buy for a load more money than they could have bought one of these Rotels. And I know that they've just spent a load of money on something that does not sound as good as this Rotel 600 because it really has got a decent sound to it, this 600. I have had the 400 as well, and that is a nice sounding receiver. I wouldn't mind one of the 400s, but really, because I had it when I was a kid, I want this 600. It's the one that I had years ago. It's the one I want again. And there's a load of these out there. These Rotels sold in big numbers. Every time I look on the computer, some of these 600s are on there. So I won't have to go all in to get one of these. I should just bide my time, and every time I see one non-working, I should put a little cheeky bid in, and I know eventually I shall end up being the winning bidder, and I should get my hands on another lovely Rotel RX 600A. Right, so next up, vintage receiver again. A good little receiver, really nice looking receiver. And it is a Sony STR 6036A. Now, this one's from 1972 and it is 15 watts per channel. And I do think this one still is a little bit of a sleeper and a little bit underrated, but I was quite surprised looking the other day what people are asking for these because they used to be really cheap, these did. They are no longer really cheap. They still are good value for money. What you get for your money is definitely good bang for your buck with one of these. But by the look of things, the prices on these little Sonys is on the up. People are starting to realise how good a little receiver one of these Sonys is. So the prices definitely have gone up on these in the last couple of years. So if I want one of these, I better get in quick before they start making ridiculous money, 'cause they do look a bit like they're going that way. They really have shot up in price, these things. Unlike this next one, which you'll be pleased to know has not shot up in price. This one is still as budget friendly as it has always been, and it is a Pioneer A333. Now, this one is from 1988 and it is 30 watts per channel. And I'm after another one of these because I want to get some really budget friendly stuff for my other channel. I want some budget gear with a good sound to it. And this Pioneer A33 really does fall into that category because you can get one of these really cheap and it really has got a good sound to it, this thing, for the money. It really has. Now, I've had loads of budget amplifiers over the years, loads of them from the 80s and all that, but this Pioneer really is a good sounding one. Because when you're talking about budget amplifiers, there really is a load of amplifiers out there that you can get your hands on for very little money. But most of them, they are no good and they sound terrible. But this Pioneer has got a decent sound to it, so it definitely is one of the better ones in that real budget category. Now, I'm not saying this is the best budget amplifier that you can get your hands on. I'm just saying it is a good one. And I love these little amplifiers when you can get your hands on them for no money and they really have got an half decent sound to them. I really love the little amps like this. So I'm going to try and put a little collection of decent sounding budget amps together. And this next one is far from a budget amplifier. This thing is a lovely old vintage receiver, a great receiver, and it is a Yamaha CR600. Now, I really want another one of these Yamahas because I love how clean sounding they are. They're fantastic, these Yamaha receivers. Now, I have had a fair few of these over the years. I've had some of the bigger ones, which I would like again. But when I look the prices up on them bigger ones, they are making ridiculous money now. So I thought I can't go after one of them big ones. I should go after the 600. And at the end of the day, the 600 is the one I've had most dealings with. I had one of these for years, so it is only right, really, that I try and get another CR600 because it really is a nice receiver. It's big, it's heavy, it's well made, and it has got a really decent sound to it. Now, I do know that a lot of people don't like the sound of these Yamahas. I do sort of understand that because one of these Yamahas does not sound like a vintage Sansui or a vintage Pioneer. They are very different sounding because they are so clean. So they do seem a little bit like they've got no bass behind them and all that. They are not like pumping party amplifiers. They are just so clean and they deliver so much detail that I really love these vintage Yamahas, but I do get why some people don't really like them. But I am not one of them people. I love the sound of these old Yamahas, and that is why I'm willing to get my money out, skint myself right out, and try and get my hands on a lovely CR600. So next up, luckily I've got one that won't break the bank, and it is a Kenwood KR4140. Now I love this old receiver. It's got the pre-out main in. It is 18 watts per channel and it is from 1970. So it is a right old one, this. And again, this was one of the first ones I ever had that pre-out main in, and I used to love playing around with that. Well, I still do. You really can have a lot of fun with an amp or a receiver that has that pre-out main in connection. And from memory, when you used this Kenwood as a preamp, it was a really good sounding preamp because we had like some more modern power amps, like 100 watt per channel power amps, more modern, like stuff from the 80s. And we used to put them onto this Kenwood and it really did sound good. And from memory, when you put the couplers back in this Kenwood and just used it like a normal receiver, it really did have a good sound. It had a load of bass. Yeah, it was a really good receiver, one of these little Kenwoods. And I do think it might be quite a rare little receiver, one of these Kenwoods, because when I've been looking on the computer for one, I've been looking for a while and I have only found a couple, whereas a load of the other Kenwoods come up all the time. But I do think this KR4140 is a bit of a rare one, but it is the one I most want because it's the one I had when I was a kid. So I've got to try and get one of these, so I'll have to keep on hunting until one of these comes up for sale that isn't working, and then I might have to go all in to get it. Right, so I'm going to make this one the last one in today's video, and this one really is a great one to end the video with. It's one of my favourites. I think in today's video this is my favourite one out of all of them, and it is a Pioneer SX440. Now this one, it's the oldest one in today's video. It's from 1969 and it is 12 watts per channel, but don't be put off by them 12 watts. This little Pioneer is a powerhouse, let me tell you. This little SX440, it thinks it's a monster receiver. It really will run big floor standards and that, and it'll run them well. You put speakers on this Pioneer and you think it won't be able to run them, and you turn that volume up and you just think, how is it doing that? It is only 12 watts per channel, but I don't think this Pioneer knows it is only 12 watts per channel. It thinks it's 1,000,000 watts per channel, this little receiver. It really does. And it has got a good sound to it, one of these Pioneers. It really has. And you get a nice set of speakers connected up to this Pioneer and you crank it up a bit. You would not believe that you are listening to something with 12 watts per channel. You would think you are listening to a big, powerful monster. So that's why I love this little SX440. It really is the little baby, low-powered Pioneer that thinks it's a bit of a monster. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.